We think if we don't have an hour to do something, that it's not worth doing.
Yeah. It's so easy to be like, well, I don't have an hour to read. I'll just skip it. No, just do it for 5 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour. And the same thing with moving our body. You can move around for 10 minutes. That can also help your mentality hugely.
A lot of people ask now that we're about to have a son, if we're going to have his face on social media. I feel like it can cause more intrigue if you hide the face all the time, but then maybe not, when it becomes a safety thing. Jellico, Angelico, guess what? It's Jellico, Angelico cats. So that's basically the whole song.
Angelico.
No, not Angelico, Jellico. Is it Jellico?
It's Jellicle.
Well, regardless, it's an absolutely bizarre song and a bizarre musical.
But parts of it definitely slap.
I mean, it's fun. It's very intriguing.
The dancing is awesome.
It was one of the longest running shows on Broadway.
It's so true. I remember the first time I ever saw Cats, and I was like,
I'm gonna grab my water.
I thought I was going to love this, and I didn't. The first time that I saw it live.
Really?
Yes.
I thought you loved it.
Well, after I did it, then I came to love it.
Oh, I see.
But also.
So it's one of those.
But also the movie. Yeah. The filmed, not the movie, like the recent movie, but the filmed stage version from like years and years and years ago, decades ago. I also watched that, which I loved that. And I think maybe I was hoping that the live show was going to be just like that. And obviously it wasn't. Because all versions are different.
Yeah. I remember seeing that one first.
The movie?
Yeah. And my brother was obsessed with it. And
really?
Yes. Loved it. My older brother really liked it growing up. And
it is good.
So naturally, as a younger brother, I was like, well, whatever you like, I like.
Absolutely.
Literally to a T, I like where he liked cheetahs. And so he started getting cheetah things. And then I was like, yeah, that's my favorite animal too. And then so then you better believe
everything
that every
cheetah.
birthday and every Christmas, it was cheetah.
Cheetah print stuff?
Yeah, cheetah print pillowcases and bed sheets, figurine.
Cheetah figurine?
A cheetah knife.
Cheetah knife?
A cheetah rug.
How many birthdays and Christmases
did
this go on?
A cheetah. Basically, if my parents saw a cheetah in some store, it was like, that's Micah's. It was, and then I grew out of that.
Well, I'm glad, because I don't want cheetah stuff all over our home.
You don't?
No.
Well, that's news to me. How are you doing, babe?
It's cute though. I'm fantastic.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. Your second trimester seems to have been going a lot better than the first.
It's been going great. Yeah, definitely feel very blessed that I've been able to just maintain my normal routines.
You're 24 or 5 weeks?
24.
Right now? 24 weeks?
24, yeah. Yeah, definitely just been thanking God every day. Literally open up my eyes and thank God that I can get out of bed, baby's healthy, I can go to the gym the way that I normally do, and it's just a huge blessing, and I really try not to take it for granted, because I know that's not everyone's situation.
I know we have a friend that's going through kind of a hard pregnancy, and it's hard to, I mean, it was kind of not similar, but our first one, just like going through where one checkup is like, it's great, and the next checkup is it's not as good, and then the next checkup, it's actually okay, and then the next checkup is actually it's not, and just the roller coaster is exhausting. To go through an entire pregnancy of that, that would be very difficult.
Very, very difficult.
Yeah, we're praying for you, and we've just been praying protection around you and the baby, and very grateful. The anatomy scan came back and everything looks good.
Got to go back for one more follow-up.
And you better, goodness gracious. We have one more follow-up for the anatomy scan, because they have not seen enough of one part of the body. And you can probably guess what that part is.
That part that tells you he's a boy.
The penis. In case you didn't know. Is what they still need to see and find.
They saw it at the first anatomy scan. So like they know it's there. They just need a clearer picture of it.
There's just like so many jokes, like so many jokes we could go. It's like, oh, taking after his old man, barely, you're going to need a microscope, you know, like, oh, you can just keep going down that road, but we won't make the whole thing, you know, the whole podcast about our son's penis.
Goodness me. Yeah, please don't.
But they will find it. They found mine eventually.
Stop. I'm gonna start blushing. Can't look.
Yeah, but all is well.
Yes.
All is well.
Everything is good. I have my appointment coming up where I have to drink that sugary drink.
Oh, that's right. What is that, glucose?
Glucola is what it's called.
Sounds awful.
Yeah, it sounds terrible. And I hate soda, so I don't think I'm gonna like it. But it's in the fridge, chilling, currently.
Yeah, I haven't accidentally drank it.
Yeah, like whatever you do, don't drink this.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the last big thing,
Mm-hmm.
I think, as far as my understanding goes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's been really nice to, I mean, we haven't done anything like in our place for the baby yet, really.
No, there hasn't been a ton of nesting. I mean, you did a little bit, but you're still like still trying to figure out the nursery.
Yeah.
And we live in New York, and we have a 2-bedroom, which is awesome. I mean, it's a huge blessing. Mm-hmm. We have actually a lot of room when it comes to New York, but it's still like, wow, things really fill up, and that guest bedroom is now going to be kind of part nursery, part guest room, and still trying to figure that out.
I was looking up like inspiration today, and I saw one that was just like, it was literally a corner. Like if you're trying to just turn a corner into a nursery, which is basically what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And it was cute what they had done, but it kind of inspired me a little bit. So I have some ideas, and I found some like prints that I want to do. Yeah. That I think will help inform the rest of what we get. And I think we just don't need as much as oftentimes people think that they need. Yeah. I'm feeling more relaxed about it.
That's good. Yeah, but you've been a rock star. The second trimester has been night and day from first trimester. Yeah. But you've been consistent with working out. She wakes up at 6:30 a.m. and works out on the weekdays, and has been steady with that, and super inspiring.
Thanks, babe. I feel so much better when I do that.
When you work out in the morning?
Yeah. And when I just get stuff done in the morning, because I'm like, yes, I'm pregnant. I have slightly less energy than I normally do, but I can still accomplish everything I need to in a day, and then some, honestly. Yeah. And it really is. I mean, I've always heard, all my friends that have kids are like, you don't know how productive you can be until, like, when you have kids, you learn the next level of productiveness that you can operate with, because you have to. Yeah. And I feel like, because I know that I feel like shutting down a little bit sooner than normal these days, the more I can get done earlier in the day, the better I feel. Mm-hmm. How the routine makes me feel is what makes me stay diligent with it. Because when I do it, I feel like, I mean, I'm like, I'm on top of the world. Like I'm killing it.
Yeah, I don't remember who said this, but your morning routine is as good as your night routine from the day before. Yeah. Which is so true. It's like, well, I want to be really productive in the morning, but if you're going to bed at 2 and 3 a.m. yeah. and like binge watching or drinking like late at night, probably not going to have as a productive morning. Right. But it's true, when you really, I feel like your morning routine, as cliche as that is, it doesn't even have to be a whole thing. No. It doesn't have to be this whole, like, I feel like people get obsessed with the morning routine. Yes. And routines in general of like, well, I need to wake up at this time, and then I have to breathe for this amount of time. Right. And then I have like to pray for this amount of time. And then they spend months figuring it out. Yeah. The perfect morning routine.
Yeah. I've totally done that.
I know you have. I know you have. You love you're like, I'm a scheduler, so I love to be on a schedule. So my ideal schedule is blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, but then it never happens.
What do you mean never?
Well, not never, but it's just that, like, life doesn't do that. Like, life doesn't allow for that usually. You just have to. But I do believe that working out earlier in the day is definitely better for the rest of your day. Yeah. You'll have a more productive day if you work out earlier in the day.
You also have to schedule your priorities, or else they can get
Of course
brushed to the side.
No, I'm not saying that. I think scheduling your priorities is definitely necessary. I'm saying like when people obsess over like the perfect morning routine or like I'm going to breathe for this amount and then pray for this amount and then work out and then stretch and then they have this hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm like, and if this doesn't get done, then the rest of the day is shot. Mm-hmm. Like I need all this stuff to be centered. Mm-hmm. I need to be centered. And it's like, you need maybe one or two things.
Right.
You need to work out and then like pray, or work out and then meditate, or workout's the through line, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think moving your body, it doesn't even have to be a full workout. Go on a walk, but just getting in motion kind of sets, I think physiologically your mentality to be in motion for the day, and you're just more productive.
Mm-hmm. That's what, we were talking about that because Darren Hardy was talking about it.
Okay. It was him. Got it.
Because this week on the series he was doing, he was talking about like crafting your morning routine, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't need to look like mine. Doesn't need to look like that person. Doesn't have to include a cold shower. Doesn't have to include any yes. nonsense that you see online. Yeah. It's just about what works for you and what equips you for what you need to get done based upon the season of life that you are in. And I just liked his whole mentality around it. He kind of gave a framework for how to create it based on your priorities, but it was like, who cares what it consists of? Mm-hmm. Just choose a couple things that help you jumpstart your day, and don't wake up and stick your nose into your phone, into news and social media ASAP.
Which I've been guilty of, but I've been a lot better now.
Got the scrolling police over here.
She is the scrolling police. Once like 11 p.m. comes, she's like, no scrolling, no scrolling. Literally like that. Not joking. It's always no scrolling. Like, and she's right. She's right. Like I can't get mad. It's definitely not. It's not good for you to be scrolling the second before you go to sleep. Mm-mm. And so we've been trying to, or I have been trying to set boundaries around that. After this amount of time, no social media, or no getting on social media, no scrolling in bed. I think that's a big one. Like once you're in bed, no scrolling, no using your phone as much as less as possible.
Yeah, as little as possible.
Yeah, that's it.
So I plug my phone in out here. I don't even bring it in there. Mm-hmm. It's too tempting when it's right there. So I'll think of something and be like, oh, I need to look, like literally something as simple as like, oh, I need to check the temperature that it's going to be in the morning. And then if my phone is right there, I can reach over and do that. Yeah. Whereas when it's out here, I'm like, I don't want to get it. So I'll just worry about it in the morning.
I know. And in the morning, it's the same thing. The first instinct for me is to check all my messages, to clear my messages, clear my emails, and then check our socials to see if I need to comment or do whatever. It's like all the it's all the admin stuff.
Yeah, like the back end
that
stuff.
You just don't have to do the first thing you get up.
Yeah.
Because it just takes one email or one message or seeing one thing to offset your morning.
Yep.
And make
Throw
you
off your whole mentality.
Pissed.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Peeved. For the rest of the morning or the rest of the day. Yeah. It just offsets. So I've been really working on, and truly not just saying like, I'm going to start my day with God and start my day with the Bible, because I said that for a lot of times and then just never do it. And I still have to, but I've been starting my day with the Bible, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, at least I just want to start the day with the word, maybe start with a prayer to just like, and I definitely notice a difference. Even if I don't feel like it, which, to be honest, I know this is going to sound like a bad person of faith, but I don't feel like, I hardly ever feel like reading the Bible in the morning, or just the first thing, or just reading the Bible. I'm just like, oh boy. I'm like, I don't even know where to really begin. I'm like, do I just read the Gospels again? Because I've read those several times, but they're a lot more fun to read than these other books, Yeah. When I do, certainly get something out of it.
Absolutely.
And then I feel better during the day.
Absolutely. Yep.
And it definitely starts my day better.
Yeah, I think it was Rick Warren who was saying, I don't know, he had some clever way of saying it that I'm going to butcher, so I'm not even going to try. But basically,
You're still going to try it.
He was like, my philosophy is God's word is like, it's the last word that I have in my mind before I go to bed, and it's the first word that I have in my mind when I wake up. So he's like, I read a little of the Bible before I fall asleep. I read a little of the Bible first thing in the morning when I wake up. And I like that. I can't say that I do that.
Yeah. Good thing to strive for, though.
Yeah, it is. But anyway.
We underestimate the compound effect of just doing something for 10 minutes a day.
Absolutely.
We just think that it's not worth it. Or we think if we don't have an hour to do something, that it's not worth doing.
Yeah.
And I think we just underestimate that so much.
For sure. I was saying
to be able to even read, I don't know, like read a chapter or a paragraph that you could potentially glean something from. Mm-hmm. What were you about to say?
Just that when I was talking to someone the other day, kind of helping them set up a game plan for some of the things they want to accomplish, I said that exact same thing. I was like, it's so easy to be like, well, I don't have an hour to read, so I'll just skip it. It's like, no, just do it for 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, why does it have to be? It doesn't have to be an hour. Mm-hmm. It can be 5 minutes for right now. Then if you read for 5 and you can go for 10, like, there you go. Mm-hmm. But it is. And the same thing with moving our body. That was a huge one where it was like, well, I don't have even a half hour. Well, it's like, you can move around for 10 minutes and that can also help your mentality hugely. Mm-hmm. Do some jumping jacks, do some push-ups, do some squats, like just get your blood pumping.
Yep.
It doesn't have to take a long time.
My blood's pumping right now.
What?
Just looking at you.
Oh no.
Gonna have to go on a break. Just kidding.
Back to the blushing.
This is going to be switching gears, but we have had a lot of people ask now that Sarah's pregnant, we're about to have his son. A lot of people asking if we're going to have his face on social media. And we've kind of gone back and forth with it. I think initially, we're going to see. I think in the beginning, like we don't see an issue with like having pictures and having him in our videos and stuff. He's not going to become like the center of our social media.
No way.
But he's a part of our life. And I feel like it can cause more intrigue if you hide the face all the time. But then I don't know, maybe not. Yeah. When it becomes a safety thing. Yeah.
And I'm also, who knows? Maybe I'm just like, we're not celebrities.
Right.
If we were like famous, if we were celebrities, it might be a different thing.
Like household names.
But also, who knows? We'll probably I don't think we can answer that question until he's here.
Right.
And in our lives.
Right.
And maybe
I feel like we could change our answer.
100%.
Like whatever we say
multiple
now,
times.
We could change the answer once he comes.
Everyone's boundaries are different.
Yeah.
Across the board in life in general. Even just like with kids and boundaries in general. Some people like they want their extended family really involved. They want their parents really involved in their kids. Like when they first have a baby, it's like they want people around. Some people don't want people around. They want a boundary where it's just them and their spouse, so it's like we all have such different needs when it comes to our boundaries. Mm-hmm. And boundaries can be such a difficult thing to talk about, especially with people who you're close to.
Yeah, especially
when it comes
family.
To setting them. Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely.
Family and friends, just to set healthy boundaries around, any topic, whether it's they come over unannounced all the time because they're looking to help, but you're like, I need privacy. How do I set a boundary without hurting their feelings? Mm-hmm. If it's with friends who, are needing your attention all the time or wanting, and if you don't give them enough attention, then they're offended. There's a lot of different things, but I think there's a good book called Boundaries by Henry Cloud, I think.
Mm-hmm. And John Townsend, I think is the other author. Mm-hmm. What are the two of them? Yes, it is.
Setting boundaries it's not a thing of malice. It's not a thing that you're being mean or shutting people out. It's just like creating health in a relationship for both parties, even if the other party doesn't really see it as that in the beginning, because they're, you know, maybe they will get offended, and that can be hard. But if you know in the long run, this is going to be beneficial for your health, your family's health, and for their, you know, for your relationship long term, it's better to do it earlier, the better. Right. Because what you tolerate, the longer you tolerate something, the harder it is to then set a boundary.
Because then when you set the boundary, they're like, well, that's mean.
Yeah.
You've never done that before.
Yeah.
Why are you saying no now?
Right.
When it's like, well, I've wanted to say no for
but
years.
I've been a coward.
Yeah. But that's on you.
Right. Yeah. It's,
it's a lot of the times people aren't even pressuring us to do something. We feel we're pressuring ourselves to say yes to everything. And it's actually coming from, it's an internal pressure and that we're sort of projecting onto someone else and being like, well, they're going to get offended, when it's like, what evidence do you have of that? And obviously there are cases when that is certainly the case. But for me, I often have to look inside and be like, am I actually the one who's putting the pressure on myself and it's not coming from the person? And in certain cases that has been me, where it's like, just want to be perceived a certain way and you don't want to say no too much. Right.
Yeah. It's a people pleasing thing.
Yeah.
And so you're in your head, you're like, well, I don't want to hurt their feelings, but it's not really that. It's, you don't want them to perceive you as someone who's mean.
Right. Or selfish.
Or selfish. Because sometimes there'll be people like that. There'll be, I forgot what book it is, maybe John Gordon, but talks about emotional vampires. Energy vampires. John Gordon. Which another word for energy is emotional. Yeah. Vampires. Yeah. Who are, they just take and take and take. Yeah. You know the relationships that you're talking about, where anytime you're around, you're just getting drained, and they're dumping their trauma and they're dumping their emotional baggage onto you, and as the longer you just sit there and take it and feel like you have to and you should, because that's the right thing to do, and that's you're trying to be there for somebody, the longer it is, it's going to build resentment towards that person in you. And if you don't cut that off earlier and say like, hey, I really appreciate all this, and I'm sorry that you're going through this. Have you talked to a professional? Like, it's really helped me. This is, personally in our life, that's why we push people to go and talk to professionals in that area, to therapists, to people that are paid to actually work through this stuff with you, so that they can actually help you, because we don't have the qualifications to actually do that.
Most people don't,
and
it's also because it's not just about when you dump those things out, it doesn't necessarily fix anything. Sometimes it can feel like it does in the moment, but what you really have to do is heal like where those things are coming from. Yeah. Because
it'll be rinse and repeat. It'll be like, you're like, I feel much better. I just like got that out. And then the next day it will be the same thing. Yeah. Right. Until the root is fixed, or the root has been kind of uprooted and worked through. It's not fair to do that to people that aren't in a place to actually like help you move forward. But it's also not fair for somebody to allow that to happen over and 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 over, and then think that this person, and build resentment. Yes. If you haven't set any boundaries, right, or if you haven't done anything on your end, right, to set a healthy boundary in that area, that's not fair either.
I was reading this devotional that's by the authors of the book Boundaries, because Boundaries is a Christian book. And it was talking about how in Galatians, how it talks about carrying each other's burdens. And then it also talks about how Galatians also says that each of us should carry our own load. And like, what are the differences between those two things? What are burdens versus what is my own load that I'm supposed to carry for myself? And I thought that was a really interesting distinctions. And I'm just like to read a little
read it.
piece of it. The Greek words for burden and load give us insight into the meaning of these texts. The Greek word for burden means excess burdens, or burdens that are so heavy that they weigh us down. These burdens are like boulders and can crush us. We shouldn't be expected to carry a boulder by ourselves. It would break our backs. We need help with the boulders, those times of crisis and tragedy in our lives. In contrast, the Greek word for load means cargo, or the burden of daily toil. This word describes the everyday things we all need to do. These loads are like knapsacks. Knapsacks are possible to carry. We are expected to carry our own. We are expected to deal with our own feelings, attitudes, and behaviors, as well as the responsibilities God has given to each one of us, even though it takes effort. Problems arise when people act as if their boulders are daily loads and refuse help, or as if their daily loads are boulders they shouldn't have to carry. The results of these two instances are either perpetual pain or irresponsibility. I thought that was so interesting.
Yeah, it like another way to describe that is like people's capacity of how they handle things and their maturity. Because maybe somebody is thinking something is is boulder the bigger one, or what's the worst one? Burden versus what?
Load.
Okay. There's a lot of boulders, burdens, loads, and I was really trying to follow which is which. So burden is the heavier one.
The heavier one.
And the load is
the light one.
The light. Okay.
Yeah.
So for somebody that's operating that thinks something is a load or something is a burden that really is a load.
Yeah.
How would they know?
Right.
Because they've been operating in their own way that they've been the whole life. And the people that react to a level 2 thing with a level 10 reaction.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, okay. That's probably coming from a history, some past that needs to be worked through. And in my opinion, I think the only way that you can figure out those things,
or like what's a burden, and what's a load that you should be responsible to carry on your own,
right?
Is
to talk to a professional, because you can't figure it out on your own. I don't think. I mean, maybe some people can and like realize, but I don't know. Like if you go through and you think these, I don't know, certain circumstances and life is feeling absolutely just like end of the world, and then you don't have anybody that says otherwise, then why would you think otherwise? But then you talk to someone and then they say, the thing with a professional, I know I'm kind of harping on this, but the thing with talking to a therapist or someone who is a professional in this area is that they have an unbiasedness to them.
Yeah.
So they can tell you what you need to hear, unemotional, but it can tell you what you need to hear. And it's truly coming out of trying to help you.
Yeah.
As opposed to telling your friend or telling someone who's close or a family member, they do have an emotional attachment.
Yeah.
And so they have a biasness. So they may say things to make you feel better as opposed to help you.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's not good.
Yeah.
It's not healthy either way, because you're not going to really get, I don't think, true help. Because they're always going to kind of probably sugarcoat things or try to sugarcoat it to not hurt your feelings. Or you have some kind of crappy friends and crappy family. They'll tell you that it is your fault when it's not.
Make you feel bad.
And make you feel bad about it.
There was another quote that I really liked when I was sort of like, I don't know, boundaries has been on my mind a lot lately. So I just was looking into some different devotionals. And so this one was, this woman wrote, which said she was talking to a pastor and she asked him, how do you prevent yourself from getting burned out? His answer was something like this: I help everyone who wants help. She said, I was intrigued. He'd be helping a lot of people. This would be a massive amount of work. Everyone wants to be in a better place, or so I thought. Then he went on, when people come with big problems, I give them small biblical ways to help themselves. But if I don't see them taking small actions toward what we've talked about, I stop helping.
And that's where boundaries come in.
I was like, that's so good.
Yeah, it is good.
That's so good.
I'd be curious as to what that looks like exactly.
Yeah.
Is that him saying, like, having a crucial conversation when somebody comes back and he's not seeing really changes being implemented at all, to be like, hey, look, once you actually implement the things that we talked about
what we talked
prior,
about. Yeah.
We don't need to,
what's next.
we don't need to continue to, have these meetings or have conversations.
Yeah. Especially when you're in a position like that where you have an immense amount of pressure on you to be like the person who helps people. Like,
yeah,
we're not pastors. We're in no position like that. And I often feel like people think I'm supposed to be their savior somehow in certain situations. And I'm just like, I'm not equipped to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional. I'm not going to be the person that saves you.
Yeah.
You have to do that for yourself.
Right.
And so I can't imagine the pressure that pastors must feel to steward their influence in a way where they can help people effectively and set proper boundaries. Like, holy moly.
I know. It's wackadoo, I would say. Wackadoo, kooky, crazy.
I feel like once we have a kid, like that, our life is going to get even more full. And I mean, and I've seen this to be true just in our lives in general already. The fuller your life gets, the stronger you have to be with your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Where maybe in another season, I did have time for that. But right now I don't.
Right.
Once our son is born, there's going to be a whole new level of like, I once had time for this and I don't. Only have time for the highest priority things, especially with a newborn baby. Obviously, as kids grow and they become more independent, then it's always changing. And so I think with people in your own life, having grace with them and they're shifting boundaries, especially if they're in a season of life maybe they're in a new season of life, like I think it's so important to offer people the grace to change their boundaries when that's what's going to be right for them.
Right. I agree.
Amen.
Amen and hallelujah. And that's boundaries, people.
And I went into that more than I anticipated, but
no, that's good. It was on your heart.
Yeah.
You know what's on my heart?
What?
Our baby moon coming up.
That is going to be fun.
I'm so excited. We're doing like the most travel ever when you're even more pregnant. Up until the point where you're not supposed to, basically.
Not quite. Let's see, 24, 25, 26. So I'll be like 27 weeks on our baby moon. It's pretty good.
Oh, that is pretty good. What is that? Just third trimester?
I think third trimester starts at 27 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know the math exactly. They told me I can fly up to 34.
Up to 34.
The doctor did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, great. Oh, we're Gucci then.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we got baby moon, we got home visiting fam, and then we got Iceland that we had planned over a year ago. That were initially our brother and sister-in-law are professional photographers, and they asked us to be their models and in Iceland to take our photos. And so we said yes. And now it's going to become maternity photos.
It's going to have a 7-month pregnant model.
Some epic maternity photos.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Holy smokers.
I'm excited for that though. It'll be fun.
I am too. It's going to be super fun.
It'll be really cool.
Well, should we wrap it up?
Yeah. Put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it.
And as always, we like to end our podcast by saying goodbye.
You did 3 notes.
Yeah, I did a little slide.
Wow.
Going rogue.
You can't. You're allowed to. You're pregnant.
Thank you.
You can do whatever you want.
Amen.
Cheers.